The Lockheed AC-130 is one of the most well-known military aircraft in the world. But have you ever wondered just what it's capable of? Join us in this video as we explore some of the shocking statistics about this powerful airborne machine. The AC-130 is an integral part of the US military and its history, because it has taken part in most major battles and wars since its introduction in the late 1960s, but it has been subject to constant change since then. It was built to replace the Douglas AC-47, which itself was a modified C-47 with guns added to it that fired out of the windows and doors. Because of its success, it went on to inspire the development of other armed aircraft and purpose-built gunships, one of which being the AC-130. Ultimately, the AC-130 is a heavily armed ground attack variant of the C-130 Hercules, which was a troop, medevac, and cargo transport aircraft used by the military. Its purpose as a long-endurance aircraft makes it perfect for carrying out missions in many situations that it can find itself in. Its airframe is manufactured by American aerospace company Lockheed Martin, but in charge of its conversion to a gunship is a much more familiar household name, Boeing. It was conceived in 1967. And some of the key equipment included a direct-view night vision telescope which was fitted into the forward door, and an early example of a forward-looking infrared device that was placed in the forward part of the left wheel well. It also featured a purpose-built analog fire control computer. In 1968, 7 further examples went on to be converted into a plain Jane bread-and-butter format. One of these received what has been referred to as the surprise package in 1969, which featured 20mm rotary autocannons and 40mm Bofors cannons. It's estimated that today's examples are worth around $165 million in build costs and equipment value. In the following years, and indeed decades, various refits and conversions were implemented to keep the planes as current as possible, as well as in response to the acquisition of further aircraft. In 2007, the Air Force Special Operations Command had planned to replace the cannons with 2 30mm Mark 44 Bushmaster II cannons, and even began the work on 4 gunships before backing out of the plan and installing the original cannons. This was supposedly due to the Bushmaster's inaccuracy in tests carried out by the Air Force, particularly from high altitudes. A few years later, 2010 saw L3 Communications awarded with a $61 million contract to add precision strike packages to 8 planes, giving them the capabilities of gunships. The following year, in 2011, $1.6 billion of funding was requested to acquire 16 new planes, in the hope that they could retire 8 aged examples, but this was later declined. That's enough of its history. But what if the AC-130 were to play a game of top trumps? Here are its credentials. The aircraft runs with a large crew of 13, made up of the pilot, co-pilot, and navigator. These work alongside the fire control officer, electronic warfare officer, flight engineer, TV operator, infrared detection set operator, loadmaster, and no fewer than 4 aerial gunners. It measures 29.8 meters in length and 11.7 meters in height. Its 40.4 meter wingspan has an area of 162.2 square meters, while its maximum takeoff weight is 70.3 tons. Power comes from a choice of 2 sets of engines, depending on the model. Either 4 Allison T56A15 turboprop engines, each coming in at 4,300 horsepower each, or 4 Rolls-Royce AE2100D3 with 4,700 horsepower each. These allow it to have a maximum speed of 260 knots, around 300 miles per hour, while its range is around 2,200 nautical miles, or 2,500 miles, about the distance between New York and Los Angeles. Its service ceiling is 12,000 meters, but this isn't where it's built to operate. Instead, the AC-130's unique selling point is its ability to fly in circles around a target, which allows it to attack for longer. Capable of pulling off this move, known as a pylon turn, for hours, its versatility comes somewhere between a larger aeroplane and a helicopter. Its weaponry is mounted on the port, or left side, so that it can carry out attacks specifically in this pylon turn maneuver. Maybe unsurprisingly, although not something that our mind would go to first, is that the AC-130 is unable to fire all ammunition at once. This is simply due to the vast amount of recoil that it would suffer. With all weaponry heading to the port side, it would push the plane's direction to the starboard side, compromising its attack and pushing it out of its pylon turn. Second to this is its ability to use unprepared runways, both for takeoff and landing, which is particularly useful not just in desolate areas, but equally in the need to quickly refuel or gather more weapons in the midst of a war. While today's armament is different to what first appeared in early models, it includes miniguns, rotary cannons, autocannons, regular cannons, howitzers, and even missiles. But despite its incredible, almost unperceivable incredible power, its days are limited. Its high signatures and low airspeeds mean that there are plenty of newer, more sophisticated models that can outperform it. With a history of more than half a century, it's unlikely that this aircraft will survive going forward. But all good things must come to an end, and while its obsolescence has not been confirmed, nor can we put a date on it, it's not too early to celebrate its incredible achievements and the astonishing workmanship that went into creating each and every single example of the AC-130. What do you think of the AC-130? How does it compare to other military aircraft of its time? Or are you sad to hear that its days are limited? Let us know in the comments section below, along with your favorite topics. We may just cover them.